Hey guys, it's Brad with P3 Customs, and today we're going to be doing a light kit installation on a 4th generation RAV4. All right, taking a look at what's included in your kit. You obviously get your plug-and-play light harness, your LED strips. If you have a dual-color light kit, you'll get a 3-way switch and the housing for it. You get a QR code that'll take you to this install video, and a sticker. Taking a look at what we need for today's install, we need a Phillips head, a 10mm socket, a little pilot drill bit, and a 5/16 drill bit. We're going to use an impact, or you can use a drill. We're going to need some trim tools, maybe a little flathead, a microfiber rag, and some degreaser. We're also going to need a long zip tie or some kind of wire feeding tool, such as a clothes hanger, along with some tape and some dry lube. We're also going to be using a heat gun and a box knife. All right, first things first, let's get our trim tools and start tearing it apart. We're going to start with getting this head liner down with these 3 pins right here. Your trim tool, carefully get it in there and rip out each one. Now that we have this liner free, we're going to move on to these side panels. So we're going to sneak our trim tool in here. Going to be some popping clips and work that around a little bit. And that's about all you need right there. And then we're going to repeat that on the other side. All right, so now if you have a dual color light kit, you'll need to follow along. If you have a white light kit, you can skip this step. So we're going to take this switch housing, and you can either put it on passenger side or driver side. I'm going to show you how to put it on the passenger side for this vehicle. So what we're going to do for this thing, you find this trim piece right here, your trim tool, pop it out with some clips, and it's going to hang. So we're just going to take it out like so and set it aside. And what essentially we're going to do is run wires through this hole, which we need to drill. So we're going to get access to this panel. You can grab our 10mm. There's going to be one right in here and one right here. You get these bolts and set them aside. All right, so for our last bolt right here, we're going to grab our Phillips head, take out the screw, set it aside. Then you're going to take your trim tool, and to access right here, pop this in, pop it out, take these, separate them, work your way down the line. Like so, and all we need is access to this little bolt hole right here. So as long as you can see that, you're golden. All right, so now to run these wires for the back of the 3-way switch, if you have a dual color kit, we need to run some wires through here. So after we pull this back, we're going to be drilling straight down through here. So we're going to grab our smaller drill bit and come at it straight from the top. Get that started. All right, so now with your 3/8 bit, you're just going to oversize it a little bit, like so, and you're good to go. All right, so now for this dome light, we're going to have to remove it. Since this is where we're getting power, you can grab a trim tool. There's a little tab right here on the front. It's going to pop it in right here. There's another one on this other side. Pop this out of the way. Now there's going to be 2 clips you push in and pull down. You have to turn your light to the on position to get to it. So this side you push in, pop this down. Same thing on this side. And pop this down. I have to finagle it a little bit. Get the clips out of the liner. And then we're just going to let this hang like so. Now that we have the interior prep for routing the wires, we're going to come back and strip back some of these trim panels. So grab a trim tool again, pop it in right here. Just going to work your way around it. And set this aside, because essentially we're going to be routing wires through this loom. So follow along this factory harness here. We're going to pop out this trim, like so. And then this one, same thing here. Get over here, pop it out. That's about all we need right there for right now. And we're good to go. Now that we have everything prepped to route the wires, let's take a look at the harness. So all you're going to do is cut your zip tie that it comes with. And here's how the kit breaks down. We have our power hookup, which will plug into the dome light. But what we're going to do for right now is disconnect this, set it aside because these are fragile. And then for the rest of the harness, you have your 2 disconnects that go to either windows for the LED strips if you have a dual color light kit, you'll have this extra wire that goes to your 3-way switch. And then you'll see this long wire right here is another quick disconnect that goes to your 3rd LED strip on the rear hatch. All right, so now we're going to grab our power hookup wire with our 5-amp fuse right here and start feeding in from the dome light back. So I'm going to grab our long zip tie, and we're going to start feeding it back here under or above the liner. Might take some finagling, you just have to get past whatever's in the interior. Now that you have this wire through the other side, we're going to grab our power hookup and some electrical tape. And what we like to do, it's like a little trick, is you get your tape and you overlap your hookup like this and wrap them together. So you can just pull it through. I like to do a good amount of tape so that it doesn't come off. And then I like to do a push-pull method. So you're going to come in here and grab your zip tie, push in your harness, and pull your zip tie. Might have to work at it a little bit from a couple different angles to get it through. Now that you've worked this wire through to the dome light, you're just going to undo your tape. When routing it, you just want to make sure you stay with the roof liner. You don't go into the sheet metal of the roof because you might get caught. So you might have to reroute it a couple times. Now we're going to take a look at the window wires. All right, so now for those window wires, there's 2 shorter ones, so the same on each side. So we're just going to do this side. You're going to go under here, and there's foam blocks. You just want to make sure you go over those so it gets routed properly. Now we're going to route our wire over here. So you see it right here. Now we're going to tuck it under to the other side right here. So you're going to take it, just feed it through by hand, pull out your slack, and repeat that on the other side. All right, so now for this dual color wire switch for the color changer, you're going to bring it to either side wherever you want to put the switch. And same type of deal, we're just going to route it over that foam block and down into this crevice by hand. Pull out some of your slack. That's out of the way. Now you're going to come in here and find your wire, which is right here. Now we're going to come in here and then feed it through our hole that we drilled. So now we're going to take our wires, take it through these holes that we drilled, and you might have to feed it in one by one. Get it through there, give yourself some slack. So it's easier to plug in your wire. And that is prepped. All right, so now for this last rear hatch wire, we're gonna go ahead and peel back this grommet. So we're gonna grab a trim tool, just kind of get in there, push it up all the way around. Same thing on the top right here. Pull that out. And now you may notice that there is a tiny little hole right here. We're gonna take our box knife and enlarge that a little bit so we can feed our wire a little easier. Just be careful not to hit any wires. So we're just gonna pull this out like so and just work out that. All right, so now that we have the grommet prepped, you're gonna take our wire, feed it through this hole right here, pull out your slack, and then we're gonna have to feed the zip tie through here. So what I like to do is a little trick. There's some WD-40 in there, so the wire's gonna slide a little better. Now you're gonna take your zip tie. I like to start from the smaller end. So you're just gonna feed it in. Now that we have that pulled through, we're gonna do the same tape method, is take this, wrap it around securely. I like to make sure I have my clip flat against the zip tie so it's not as intrusive. A good amount of tape on it so it is nice and aerodynamic, I suppose. Pull that through. We're going to pull it to right here, put a little more lubricant on it. Go ahead and pull that through. Make sure you get your tape out of there. And pull out your slack. All right, so now with this wire pulled through the grommet, you're just gonna tug it up through here. Pull it through this little section. And now we're just gonna follow along the factory harness. If you have zip ties, it might be nice to zip tie them in place. In case you don't, we're just gonna wrap it around as we feed it along, so it kind of holds its shape and doesn't get caught into the trim. So kind of style as I was feeding it, I was also tucking it. So now we're gonna put an LED strip right here. So you just wanna prep your wire so it's gonna hang out like so. And with all this extra slack, you can either stuff it into your panel or you can zip tie it and then stuff it in there, as long as it doesn't get in the way of any of the clips or electronics. And that is prepped, we can go ahead and start attaching our wires. Now that we have our entire harness prepped, we're gonna go ahead and plug in our LED strips just to make sure everything works. And then we're going to install the LED strips onto the hatches and then clean up all the interior plastics. So for the LED strips, you're just gonna cut your zip tie, and there's going to be 2 shorter ones and 1 longer strip. Longer strip's just gonna get plugged into this back one. Shorter strips get plugged into each of the side windows, like so. And then if you have a dual color light kit, we're just gonna plug in our 3-way switch. Here's the orientation of that. You're going to have your yellow wire onto position 2, which is over here. So all you're going to do is push that on. Your black wire goes to the middle right here. And your red wire goes to position 1. Just want to make sure all of the coverings are over the terminals, so it's all nice in position. Put it to position 1 or 2. And now we're going to hook up our dome light. So for this power hookup, if you have your doors open for a while, that has a natural timer feature. So you might want to close, open your door, make sure your factory dome light's working. Okay, so you're going to turn it off, pop out your bulb. So you're just going to push in this clip and pop it down as you do, like so. Now we're going to take our power hookup, feed it through, put our red wire on the plug side. In case this orientation doesn't work, you're just going to flip it. Just put it in just like the factory bulb was, like so. Plug in your 2-way clip at the top here and test your lights. If you make sure everything's working properly, we can go ahead and start applying our LED strips. So now we're already back here, we're gonna go ahead and reinstall our dome light. Now that we know everything works, make sure it's all out of the way, push it in, just like factory. And we're gonna take our dome light cover, pivot it from the back here, push, push, everything still works, and we're golden. Now before attaching the LED strips, we're just gonna take our degreaser and wipe down the mating surfaces. Get in here, wipe it down pretty good. Wax on, wax off. Do that in each window, and then on this back strip right here. So now for our LED strips, we're just gonna turn on a heat gun and apply some heat to the bottom. Not only does this activate the tape on the bottom, but also relaxes the plastic. So as you can see, it's all very tightly wound, and it will make it want to sit more flat. So I just want to bring even heat all the way through. Be careful not to burn the strip. So now what we're going to do is peel off the tape off the bottom, like so. And once you get to the top right here, just want to make sure you get it out from under the heat shrink. So now we're going to line up on the plug side, on the driver's side, and we're going to go right in between right here. So we're going to line it up centered and slowly work your way down the line. Make sure you like where it's sitting. Work it centered all the way down. Once you like where it's sitting, apply firm pressure all the way through. Now that we have our LED strip applied, you can go ahead and plug it in, like so. Tuck up your wire loom, get it where you like it, pop that up, and then repeat those same steps on each of the window wires. All right, so now after you rip off your tape, I just like to plug in our plug, just kind of see kind of where you want it to line up. It's going to go into your flat spot right about here and apply a firm pressure throughout. All right, now that we have our light kit installed and everything's working properly, we're going ahead and clean up all the plastics of the car, and then we're done. So we're just going to take this plastic exactly how we took it off. Just going to pop it on like so. Same thing right here. Make sure all the wires are out of the way. Nice and secure. Go ahead and put this grommet back. So you're just going to take it, shove it in along the trim. Same thing on the bottom here. Might be a little tight. Just got to work at it a little bit. Get that weather tight seal. Get that all the way around. Nice and secure. Now for these side plastics here, we like where the wire's at, so we're just going to pop these in. We're missing a clip right here, so replace any clips. On this side, same deal. And then we can go ahead and reapply our screws. So now to finish up the side panel, we're going to grab our Phillips head, put in this screw right here. Grab our 10 mil and only put in one of these bolts right here. And then we can put in this bolt as well. After you move this out of the way. And then for this three-way switch, all you have to do is tuck up any slack that you can through that hole. So now you're going to take these small Phillips head screws, line up your piece where you like it, and put in these two screws right here like so. One. And two. And in case you ever want to put your factory trim piece back in there, you will never see the holes. For our final step, we're just putting in these hood pins. So 1, 2, and 3. All right, that concludes our 4th generation RAV4 light kit install. Thank you guys all so much for the support, and please let us know if you have any questions.